The Legend of Zelda, a series that needs absolutely no introduction. The Zelda games have been loved by many Nintendo fans, young and old, for so many years now, and for good reason. Dude, fans for years now have been claiming that games like Wind Waker, Twilight Princess, Link to the Past, Ocarina of Time, Majora's Mask have just continuously pushed the Zelda envelope and really redefined the adventure genre for a lot of games. However, many fail to really mention any game from the Hero of Wind's timeline outside of Wind Waker. I personally feel like these games get a little too much slack, more than they actually deserve. And that's what we're here to discuss today. Hey guys, it's Simon from the Panic Brothers. Today we're doing something a little different. Today will be a solo run episode with just me. Today we'll be discussing one of the unsung classics of the Zelda games, which is Spirit Tracks, a game I believe deserves at least a fair amount more credit than the terrible abomination that was Phantom Hourglass. So let's just get right into it. Guys, I messed up. This is now 2 weeks after playing Spirit Tracks, and this game is not really as cool as I remember it being. If I'm comparing it to Phantom Hourglass, which is a game I really do not enjoy, this game is really not that great of a sequel. It doesn't really do a good job of departing from what was the terrible monstrosity of Phantom Hourglass, in my opinion. And instead of, breaking away from old customs in that game, it kind of reuses some of them and introduces new ones that actually makes the game a little worse. So instead of praising it, I'm going to spend the rest of the video now talking about the negatives. I'm still going to be talking about some of the positives, but overall, it's definitely going to be more of a roast session. So let's start. Alright, so I'm going to start with why I thought Spirit Tracks was such a great game to begin with. As a kid, I really thought the story of Spirit Tracks was a very interesting one that really no other Zelda game was tackling. It was cool seeing that Link was an engineer for once. It wasn't some Knight Academy stuff or something related to the prophecy of a hero. He was just an engineer who got caught into a situation. And I thought the story was really interesting because it introduced new elements like a spirit flute and the idea of Zelda herself becoming an ally in spirit form. I also thought the story was very interesting because you were navigating using a train system, and even the final boss, spoiler alert, is using a train itself. I thought it was a very interesting story, a very unique one. But now that I look back at it and I'm playing now, I'm realizing the story really lacks any really emotional connection or anything that really makes me want to get too involved with it. For example, we have the concept of Zelda dying, I guess, and becoming a spirit, and I know it's not supposed to drive this emotional connection, but I know it's supposed to drive a sense of urgency to get her body back, and I never felt that playing this game. Well, at least now I don't. When I'm playing this game now, and I constantly hear that Zelda wants to get her body back and it's very urgent, it doesn't come across urgent to me. I don't care. I'm at my own pace. I'll turn off the system and wouldn't even mind. For a good comparison, let's look at Twilight Princess. In Twilight Princess, you had the character of Midna, whose role in the story seemed really minimal, and honestly more of an annoyance. However, you soon find out that Midna actually is more than just a pesky character that's supposed to be annoying like Navi. She has dreams, ambitions, personality, a real relationship with Link. Thus, when Princess Zelda in Twilight Princess has to sacrifice her life to save Midna, it means a lot more. You barely know Zelda in Twilight Princess. She has very little lines of dialogue, and you don't really form a relationship with her like you do in Spirit Tracks. However, in Twilight Princess, it still means a lot more, and you know she's not really going to be dead because it's a Zelda game. She's going to be alive, just like you know that Zelda in Spirit Tracks is not going to really die. But still, the death means so much more in Twilight Princess because of the meaning behind it. Sacrificing yourself to save Midna not only just means a lot because she gave up her life, but also puts so much more value on Midna and makes her feel so much more guilty if she cannot save her world and the world of Hyrule. Meanwhile, over in Spirit Tracks, who even cares, dog? Like, oh, I'm a ghost and it's all a gimmick and death means nothing in this game. Who really cares? Woo! Outside the lack of emotional depth of the story, let me actually just address what the main story of Spirit Tracks really is. Spirit Tracks at its core really boils down to Boy Engineer. Boy Engineer witnesses the murder of a princess. The princess is actually not dead, but actually a ghost. Boy and Ghost go on journey to collect the MacGuffin spirit tracks and the MacGuffin midgets that protect said spirit tracks. Boy and Ghost return and repeat the same stage between every single MacGuffin collection over and over again. Boy faces bad guy gone good or good guy gone bad, essentially this edgy dude that everyone loves because he has a moral dilemma. Then at the end of the day, the evil final boss appears and loses to the boy Ghost with the help of, you guessed it, edgy boy that everyone loves because he has a moral dilemma. As you can see, there's truly not that much depth in the story. And I know I'm asking for a lot because there's not really depth in general when it comes to Zelda games, but there's always a little bit something there. Like in Twilight Princess, Link and Midna's relationship is so personal and real compared to previous titles. They both change a lot as characters and go from people who purely work together because they benefit each other to real friends, maybe even lovers, who can never see each other again due to the circumstances of their existence. It's also refreshing to see Twilight Princess Link not collect just only Twilight shards, but instead collect pieces of the Twilight Mirror because you learn that Zan is taking control of the Twilight Realm and this mirror is the only point of access. And plot twist, he's doing it only because Ganondorf, a character you find out at the very last second, has given the power to do so. This title had no real hinting at Ganondorf until later on in the game, which is so cool. This story is just so much more interesting and full of twists in life, and actually kind of creates an engaging factor when you compare it to the story that's made up in Spirit Tracks. Or in Ocarina of Time, you're still also going to multiple dungeons collecting MacGuffin medallions instead of midgets, but at least in Ocarina of Time, you witness Link going through the dilemma of facing time travel and having to give up his childhood to face the greater evil. Majora's Mask, he has to save multiple people from the impending doom of Clocktown and do all these side quests, when in reality the people don't even know it doesn't matter because time resets itself. Or even Wind Waker. Wind Waker is nice to see because Link himself thinks the whole time that he's just trying to save his little sister, and then it turns out to be something even bigger than himself, and Tetra, even a pirate, turns out to be a princess. I mean, these stories have little elements that really make them unique and really carry them forward. Spirit Tracks, really only uniqueness comes from relationship between Link and Zelda, which is phenomenal, but outside that, really, Link is an engineer, and that's it. It's very lacking in a wow factor. And I can hear some of you arguing that, well, the wow factor is the train system, and the train system is really cool because it's utilized in the Malladus final battle.
Dio! ほう、向かってくるのか。逃げずにこのディオに近づいてくるのか。近づかなきゃ、てめえをぶちのめせないんでな。ほうほう。では十分近づくがよい。
If the train system is supposed to be the woe factor for Spirit Tracks, it completely does not do that, and it actually makes the game a lot worse. The train system creates a feeling of absolutely no freedom. I personally loved playing Wind Waker and Phantom Hourglass as a kid. Even though they weren't completely open world games, having a vast empty sea in front of me to travel on via boat felt like so much fun and really groundbreaking for its time. All the water I could see was reachable to a certain extent. With Spirit Tracks, the train system restricts me to a single rail system that already leads me to a specific place. This is why I can't stand this train system. Can't even change the way I'm approaching a destination. It's so terrible and just limiting. Also, not to mention boring. On long stretches of land, the train ride becomes insanely slow, boring, and just plain repetitive. Sure, you can control the speed and blow the horn, but how much fun is that after the first 10 minutes? Battling enemies and trying to capture bunnies across the land serve as ways to keep you occupied while you're traveling, but they prove to be mindless and just stupid. Fast travel itself also is just not as easy as it was in Wind Waker and Phantom Hourglass. In Spirit Tracks, you have to complete side quests to activate 2 gates on the map that connect to each other. Jumping from one gate to another requires even more traveling, which is not the end goal of fast travel. Even the final battle of Malladus that I just mentioned feels dull during the train segment. The last thing I want in my boss fight is controlling my train on a single rail system. Why do you think at the end of Wind Waker they didn't have a boat fight? Cause it's dumb. I'm not going to use my mode of transportation to fight the final boss. That's not what it should be used for. At least the one good thing about using this train system is it does solidify and confirm that Link is truly an engineer at his core, not really a warrior or fighter. His engineering skills come in handy in the last fight, and it makes canonically a lot of sense. But that is truly a small benefit. Now that I'm done bashing the train system, let's get to the actual best part about this game. Oh! Zelda! Oh! Zelda's so good in this game! Zelda's character in Spirit Tracks is by far one of the best Zeldas in the franchise. Just that clip alone I just showed you carries more emotion than half the Zeldas we've seen in the series combined. Zelda typically is so underutilized in these games that for once it's pretty refreshing to see her actually have a character, fight a long Link, and grow as a real human being. At the start of the game, Zelda carries big Ocarina of Time vibes, being all innocent, young, naive, and honestly kind of useless in her role. However, from the moment she loses her body to the moment she lays down the final hit with Link, she becomes a strong, independent character who shows signs of courage, wisdom, and power. Speaking of the final hit, it's so symbolic of a scene because never once have we seen a Zelda character literally delivering the final blow alongside Link. I think it truly symbolizes both characters' progress and relationship throughout the entire story of Spirit Tracks. Seeing them hold hands at the end of the Malladus final battle feels so real to me, and it's one of the two instances I can think of where I truly believe their relationship. The other being Skyward Sword, when Link tries to stop Zelda from sacrificing herself. The character is just so underrated. No one really talks about the Zelda and how great it is. And honestly, without her, the story is not the same. It feels colorless. She, in my opinion, drives the story and is the best thing about Spirit Tracks. The dungeons in this game are hard for me to judge. On one hand, some of them provide interesting puzzles that require the use of the stylus and map feature, and even the mic for blowing into the flute or leaf spinner item in certain puzzles. On the other hand though, the dungeons are pretty easily forgettable, have basic themes, and don't require too much expertise to ace sometimes. Let me try to focus on my biggest gripe first, the Spirit Tower. Listen, I get it. Returning to the tower does make sense in reference to the story, and also it further shows Link, Zelda, and the player how much they have overcome already and how much better their skills have become. However, I really think it's painful to have to travel back to the same dungeon after every other dungeon visit. I know each new floor Link and Zelda visits in the tower is different, and thus it doesn't feel like the same dungeon, but it still comes off as lazy and uninspired. Especially when the train travel is boring as it is, it gets a lot more boring when you know you have to make the long trek back to the Spirit Tower after every single dungeon completion. I have to give credit where credit is due though. There are more challenges in this game that are a lot more challenging and engaging than the ones that are in Phantom Hourglass. I wouldn't call them too memorable or too groundbreaking, but they definitely carried a novelty to them. For example, Link has to transport the boss key to like a mineshaft sort of maze with the help of Zelda in her soldier form. Link has to defend the key that Zelda holds by shooting at the floor masters that are after the key, all the while not getting lost in the maze. It's really mind-moving stuff that gives you like a general sense of joy and accomplishment. I think the logic puzzles and fun moments in these dungeons in Spirit Tracks blossom due to the map writing feature. In terms of gameplay, this is my favorite element of the game. I like it so much because it's open to any form of usage. If you want to remember what neighbor in Anuki Village best compliments another neighbor, write it down on your map, or not, it's up to you. Do you want to remember what ways the statues face in the desert rail portion of the world map? Once again, write it down on your map. It's all optional, yet so crucial to use in whatever way best works for you, the player. Now all that being said, let's be honest. An ice dungeon, a forest dungeon, sand, fire, etc. is pretty formulaic and short-lived. I completed the dungeons pretty easily and honestly nearly fell asleep through most of them. The only dungeon that left its mark on me was a sand temple due to the path it took to get there and the trials at the entrance and the creative use of the sand wand item. The trials that Link has to face is a replica fight against the rock tile, which is a reference to the snow realm. The second trial has Link cross a maze like the Lost Woods, and the final trial has him taking down multiple turrets at the outside of the temple. This is probably the only time I ever had fun riding the train in this game. As to the sand wand, it's a genius item to introduce at a time where so many items already exist in the Zelda universe. The creativity behind using it to create elevated platforms truly brings out the best of the temple. Honestly, if the forest, snow, and ocean temples proved to be more difficult and immersive, like the sand temple was, especially with its item usage, and the spirit tower wasn't accompanied by the feeling of a chore, I would have loved these dungeons so much more. And I can't say the worst, because I would gladly say that these dungeons were definitely better than the Phantom Hourglass ones, but overall, it didn't leave that great of a taste in my mouth. Now in terms of gameplay, using the stylus to fight and the mic to blow into the flute kind of got me upset at multiple times throughout the game. I would constantly hit corners of my screen, or my fat hand would just cover the entirety of the screen using the pen. It's kind of dumb to expect the player to keep up with the visuals of the game when the same screen with the said visuals yields controls for the whole game. If I want to reach a chest in the top left, boom, my whole hand is up on Link's body. I love the innovation behind the flute, but at times it does feel silly and maybe I'm just a little weak, but I would get headaches sometimes just trying to blow into the mic. Oh, and speaking of headaches, whoever decided it was a great idea to use the boomerang to create ice paths in the snow temple is on my death list. The stylus is not the ideal instrument when you're balancing on ice while using the boomerang to create more road below you while being shot at by enemies. When I die doing this, it doesn't feel like it's my fault. It just feels like the way I control Link is way too limiting and just clunky. Honestly, these gripes come with the issue of the DS in general, but if this game were to come out on the Wii U, gamepad, or Switch, maybe it would have been actually more comfortable for me because I would not have to constantly use the style to move, but I can still use a stylus to draw maps, which is such an important feature in this game. Overall, Spirit Tracks is a good game. But would I say it's phenomenal? Would I say it needs improvement? The answer to the first one is no, and the answer to the second one is definitely yes. I think the reason why I can't say this game is amazing is because it tried so hard to do something new by making like an engineer and the whole train and a new villain and new characters. But some of the things it did that were new just completely hurt it. Like the new elements and characters hurt it in the story because they didn't even try too much with the characters. Zelda and Link were phenomenal in this game, but everyone else, I don't care. Malladus and the Chancellor were one of the most boring characters I've ever experienced Zelda. I already forgot majority of like the things they did in the game. And when you have certain new systems like the train that limit gameplay and make things boring, it's cool that it's there, but you're hurting yourself. You're not actually fully using it to its full potential. I think this game just falls short. It could be so much better. And I feel like if they remade the game today and touched on the little things that hurt it and made it boring or just a forgettable title, it would kill it. It has such a potential for a great story, great gameplay, and just all around great experience, but it's just not there. I would have to give this game a 6 out of 10. Now, would I say not play it? If it was $10 at GameStop, go ahead and pick it up and play it. But to buy it at full price, just skip this one, guys. I appreciate you guys just listening to me rant about a title that no one's really cared about in years. Please comment down below if you have strong opinions on this, because I feel like I have a lot of hot takes on this opinion, and I feel like I'm very neutral in this, where I don't think it's a great game, I don't think it's a trash game, so heck, I might be the mediator between a lot of you people, who knows. But feel free to just comment down below and what are your thoughts on Spirit Tracks. This video was so much fun to make, so I really appreciate you guys if you liked it. Let me know if you like this content. It's okay if you don't. Just be honest with me. I want to hear from you guys. Maybe even drop the name of a video game you think is underrated or overrated that you want me to review next time. I would love to keep doing these if you guys want to keep seeing them. Until next time, guys, this has been Let's Not Play with Simon from the Panic Brothers, signing off. Peace.